Good morning. Welcome veterans and families, ladies and gentlemen, and any special guests that we have this morning. So it's really amazing to see everybody out here for Anzac Day 2021. So thank you everybody for joining us. It's excellent. Really appreciate that. So just let me start the service with acknowledging the traditional owners of this land that which we met on today, so the Gubbi Gubbi or Kabi Kabi people, and let's pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging. Thank you. So I'll now ask the catafalque party to fall, please. In. Thank you. We'll now commence our service. So as the sun rose on the 25th of April 1915, Australian and New Zealand soldiers rowed towards the shores of Gallipoli. Every year since that date, as the sun rises, Australians gather across this nation to remember their legacy and the legacy of all those that have followed in their footsteps. In 2021, Anzac Day will commemorate it in this time-honoured way, and thank you all for being here. So as we gather today at our cenotaph, we'll lay wreaths to honour the fallen and our veterans. And as we take time to remember their sacrifice and service of our mates and the family and communities that support them, we'll share a moment of remembrance for every single serviceman and woman who has made the significant sacrifices so that all Australians can continue to live our lives in absolute freedom. Last year we couldn't join together to share our Anzac commemoration in our usual way. And here in Yandina, we saw the beautiful resilience and community spirit that we're here to support us share our service via a live stream, once again demonstrating how important that Anzac spirit is in times of difficulty and to find new and innovative ways to move ourselves forward. Our ingenuity, humour, endurance, courage and mateship have guided us through some challenging times in the last 12 months, and we've still united as a nation greater to fight any compromises that might come our way. These are the same traits that have helped our current and former service personnel and the families who stand behind them, and for more than 100 years. So on this Anzac Day, we also mark three major milestones of our armed services. From modest beginnings in 1921, Class RAF this year celebrates 100 years of service to Australia. Our Army this year recognises 2 million Australians who have worn and continue to wear the slouch hat and rising sun for the last 120 years. And our Navy, 110 years ago on July 10th, was granted the Royal Australian Navy, the title of the Royal Australian Navy by King George V. So armed services have always loyally and courageously defended our nation. As a way of saying thank you, I encourage you to place our servicemen and women, past, present, at the front of your thoughts for here on Anzac Day. Thank you. And now it gives me great pleasure to welcome today our guest speaker, Anthony Moorehouse. And so from the age of 14, Anthony's dream was to join the military and become a Special Forces soldier. At school, he was an Australian Army cadet in Year 12. Anthony received the scholarship to the Australian Defence Force Academy, where he spent the next 3 years and finished his military training at the Royal Military College of Duntroon, graduating as an infantry officer in 1999. 6 days after graduation, Anthony was on the border of East and West Timor, leading a platoon of infantry soldiers on active service. Anthony returned to East Timor 2 more times before successfully completing the Commando Special Forces selection course as a captain in what is now known as 2 Commando Regiment. Anthony was responsible for leading Australia's Tactical Assault Group East during land-based terrorism-related hostage situations. It is during this tenure at 2 Commando that Anthony was awarded the Commander Special Operations Commendation for leadership during the counter-terrorism operations. After 9 years in the Army, Anthony left the military to pursue a career in crisis and emergency management. Initially, this saw him protecting a team of 50 engineers and medical staff who were building hospitals in Iraq. He started his own company, leading crisis response during large-scale natural and man-made incidents in Australia and around the world. Anthony remains an active part of the Australian veterans community and is passionate about helping veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder. Anthony lives here on the Sunshine Coast with his wife Sarah, who is also a veteran who spent 6 years with the Medical Army Corps, and their 2 daughters, Ella and Georgia. So help me welcome Anthony. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and particularly for the veterans here today who we honour. It's an absolute honour to be here with you on the 105th anniversary of the landing of the Anzacs at Gallipoli Cove in Turkey in World War I. As Tracy said, the Gallipoli Campaign was the birthplace of the Anzac tradition. It was the first large-scale campaign that saw young Australian and New Zealand soldiers fighting for their lives and for those of their mates under their new national flags, post the Federation and the birth of these new frontier nations. In my first year at the Australian Defence Force Academy, I travelled to Gallipoli on a military battlefield tour. We spent 2 weeks learning about the battles, the stories of bravery, the strategic decisions and the mistakes. But what lives with me still, some 25 years on, are the stories of humanity, of ingenuity and mateship, sometimes even between enemies. I remember standing in a trench that in August of 1915 had been filled with Australian soldiers. Just in front of us were the Turkish trenches. These 2 trenches at the Battle of Lone Pine were both the fighting positions and the living quarters for hundreds of young, brave, and scared soldiers. As the battle went on and days turned into weeks, turned into months, each side was getting low on critical supplies and morale. The Turkish had tobacco, but no paper. The Australians had paper in the form of letters from home, but no tobacco. The soldiers amongst themselves agreed once per week to stop the fighting, to bury their dead, and then for the rest of that day to take stock and to pause the horrors of war, even if just for a time. Smoke would billow from the trenches, songs would be sung, and there was a collective sense of humanity and mateship, if only for a short time. Those brave young Anzacs who signed up to fight for their country in World War I, World War II, the Korean War and the Vietnam War, did so out of a sense of servitude, with a belief in something bigger than themselves. It is this same sense of servitude that many of the younger veterans chose. It was that sense of servitude which saw them join the military and saw them serve in places like Somalia, Rwanda, East Timor, Iraq and Afghanistan. As I was thinking about what I was going to talk about today, I had in front of me a photo of my old unit. Some of those young and strong and purpose-driven faces in that photo are no longer with us. Sergeant Brett Wood, who was awarded the Medal of Gallantry for his bravery in Afghanistan, was killed in action in 2011. Sergeant Peter Caife and I, we were very close. He suffered, as many veterans do, from post-traumatic stress disorder after serving in Cambodia, East Timor, Iraq and Afghanistan. Pete, like many diggers, a great Aussie larrikin, was in a lot of mental pain, and he ended his own life several years ago. My memories of them are a reminder for me of the tremendous tenacity and humour of the Australian spirit, of the Anzac spirit. It's also a reminder for me not just of the physical consequences of war, but also the mental and emotional collateral damage that can last long after the guns have gone silent. Anzac Day is therefore also a reminder of the fundamental importance of peace as something to be grateful for, to be cherished and protected. Brett and Pete believed in their mission. They were smart and funny guys that could bring a plan together in the most difficult of circumstances. Most importantly, they believed in their mates, in their brothers and sisters in arms, who they would do anything for. They served, they fought, and they died for a purpose bigger than themselves. In them I feel the Anzac spirit. We see these same attributes, this Anzac spirit, in our emergency services, in our medical teams, in our teachers, in our aged care workers, our volunteers and carers. These people dedicate themselves to help to make our society function, protecting and caring for our community in the name of something bigger than themselves. That is the Anzac spirit, at least for me. It's alive and living with us today, as it was on the shores of Gallipoli and the deserts of Iraq and Afghanistan. For me, the purpose of Anzac Day is this. It's bringing together people across generations. It's a reminder of those who have passed. It connects us to those who have served, those who do serve, and those who have paid the ultimate price. And I hope we can all take this opportunity to show gratitude to those who have served us at the expense of their own comfort, their own safety. And perhaps for us to even ask ourselves the question, how am I going to live up to the Anzac spirit? How am I going to extend a hand in help to others, both locally and globally? How do we dedicate ourselves as they did in service in the name of something bigger than ourselves? Just like the veterans have done, past and present, who we are here to honour today. Thank you.
It was really touching. I had chills quite a few times, Anthony, so thank you very much for that. It's now my pleasure to introduce Reverend David Tardy, who will provide us with a prayer for today.
We come here to remember, but remembering is not reading a list of names. Remembering is remembering what that meant to those people and what it means to us today. We remember those who served and didn't come back. We remember those who served and came back broken. We remember those who came back and passed on the stories of what it meant. We remember the stories and the pain that people went through, but we also remember the reasons why people went to serve. The country we have today, the values that we have today, and the future that we have because of what these people did. We remember their families. We remember their stories, their dreams, their hopes that have changed because of their experiences. We remember them and we stand with them with gratitude and thankfulness for what they gave to us. And we hope to process what that means for us in our community and in our society, and what that means for us in changing our lives to be able to honour the memory that we have for them. Let's pray together. Father, thank you for these men and women who gave up their hopes and dreams to serve us as a country, to serve us as a people. Help us to be able to honour them as we sit and stand here and honour them as well. Father, help us to build a country that honours their memory, a country that serves and loves each other and walks forward with strength and connectedness. Father, help us to remember their memories, help us to honour their memories, and help us to build in values of who we are as a community because of the service they gave us. In Jesus' name, amen.
see someone from... That was beautiful. Thank you very much, David. And I think it's really such a great, heartfelt way of sharing what a lot of us feel. I'd actually now like to ask the children, the school children, to come here to do their tributes, please. So we have Yandina State School. And so Jessica will be providing us with a tribute to Anzac Day. Thank you, Jessica. No, that's all right. You just go straight.
With their hair a little wider, their step not quite so sure, still they march on proudly as they did the year before. Theirs were the hands that saved us, their courage showed the way. Their lives they laid down for us that we may live today. From Gallipoli's rugged hillsides to the sands of Alamein, on rolling seas and in the skies, those memories will remain. Of airmen and the soldiers of Lone Pine and Silver Bay, those boys of the Dardanelles are remembered on this day. They fought their way through jungles, their blood-soaked desert sands. They still remember comrades who rest in foreign lands. They remember the siege of old Tobruk, the mud of the Kokoda Chow, some paying the supreme sacrifice with courage that did not fail. To the icy land of Korea, the steaming jungles of Vietnam, and the heroic battle of Cape Young and that epic victory at Long Tan. Fathers, sons, and brothers, together they fought and died, that we may live in peace together, while at home their mothers cried. When that final bugle calls them to cross the great divide, those comrades will be waiting when they reach the other side.
It's a wonderful job, thank you. Thank you, Jessica. That's a wonderful job. Thank you so much, Jessica. Now I'd like to call on North Arm State School, please. So you can just try when you do it to talk into the mic as much as you can, please.
We remember those on Anzac Day. In the early morning, just before the sun up, and while the sky is still grey, we silently remember the fallen and the wounded on Anzac Day. Those who fought for our allied countries, both here and on foreign shores, those killed, wounded, and all returned service personnel in all world wars. Servicemen and women of every distinction and all ranks, we give you all our heartfelt gratitude and our sincere thanks. Anzac Day is a day to remember the mates who are left behind, all service personnel who return home injured, shell-shocked, or blind, and all those psychologically scarred by the bloody battlefield. Their experiences are too horrific to be discussed or revealed. As a nation reunited by tragedies and terrible loss, and each year we stand together under the Great Southern Cross. The tragic loss of so many lives, soldiers, sailors, airmen, and nurses, causing broken hearts and grief that time never reimburses, all leaving behind a bereaved mother, father, a distraught husband or wife, forever destined to mourn the terrible loss of their precious one's life. They perished on our home shores and across the vast sea, and allowed us to live in this great land of the lucky and free.
They are not forgotten or overlooked by the passing of the years. Silently we stand and remember them as the sun slowly appears, and as the bugle plays the last post, and we humbly watch the dawn break. We appreciate how courageous they were when our freedom was at stake. They were people much loved and full of life when they answered the call on April the 25th. Each and every year, we will remember them all. Thank you.
Wonderful. What an amazing job by Northern. Thank you so much, everyone. It's wonderful. Great teamwork too. So now it's my great pleasure to introduce the Yandina Scouts. And I also need to shout out because they've done a great job helping us to set up for today and been in the hall helping us and all sorts of other jobs. So they've really been such a great asset to this town. Thank you.
My mother's letter came today, and now my thoughts are far away, for in between its pages lay a little sprig of wattle. The old home now looks at its best, the message ran. The country's dressed in spring's gay cloak, and I have pressed a little sprig of wattle.
I almost see that glimpse of spring. The very air here seems to ring with joyful notes of birds that sing among the sprigs of wattle. The old home snug amongst pines, the trickling creek that twists and twines round the tall gum roots and undermines. It's all ablaze with wattle. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful tribute with the sprigs of wattle, and if you can imagine what that would have been like, being away and just that recollection of home would have been an amazing gift at that point. So now we will we'll be moving into the wreath laying. So if I could ask Sunshine Coast Pipes and Drums Bands, please, to be playing the lament.
Our first wreath will be laid by the President of the Yandina-Eumundi RSL, Tracy Gilmartin, and Anthony Moorehouse, who is laying his wreath for Sergeant Peter Caff and Brent Wood. We have Malcolm Gray on behalf of the National Servicemen and Jeanette Holland on behalf of the Defence Servicewomen. Now I have Graham Burgoyne on behalf of the RAF Association. And the 128 ACU Yandina. Doesn't matter. Call them out. Robert Skelton, member for Nicklin, and Tony Northey for Dan Purdy, member for Ninderry. Students from Yandina State School, North Arm State School, and Yandina Scout Group. Ready now? 128 ACU Yandina. the Reverend David Tiddy from Yandina Baptist Church, and Maureen Brooke on behalf of the CWA. Bill Gassane from the Yandina Chamber of Commerce, and Nigel Anns from the Yandina and District Community Association. If there are any members of the public that would wish to lay a wreath, please step forward now.
Thanks very much for that, Gordon, and thank you very much for the beautiful tributes, everyone. It's a really lovely thing to see, the cenotaph with all the beautiful floral tributes on it. So now I would actually like to read the RSL, the valedictorian. So if you are able to be upstanding, if you could please do that. And if you need to be seated, especially for veterans, that's perfectly fine too. They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end, against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we the left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them, lest we forget. Thank you. We'll now move into the national anthem. So as our first, we'll actually have the Australian anthem, led by local stars, the Doo Wop Dolls, and then they will do a genuine version of the New Zealand anthem. Oh, is it? Sorry. Okay. My apologies. It's the New Zealand one first.
Ei hoa atua ona iwi matora atawhakarona mea roha noa kia rua ko te pai kia toto atapai mana akiti amai Aotearoa. God of nations, at thy feet, in the bonds of love we meet. Hear our voices, we entreat. God, defend our free land. God, Pacific's triple star, from the shafts of strife and war, make her praises heard afar. God, defend New Zealand. Australians, oh let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is good by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty rich and rare. In history's page let every state advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair. Beneath our radiant southern cross we'll toil with hearts and hands to make this commonwealth of ours renowned of all the lands. For those who come across the seas, we've boundless plains to share. With courage let us all combine to advance Australia fair. In joyful strains and let us sing, advance Australia fair.
That was beautiful, ladies. Thank you. And can I just take a few seconds out, because it is quite hot in the sun, and we've got a couple of amazing first aiders who are here with Wayne and Joyce, who join us every year. And whilst they're amazing at doing their job, it would be really great if you could stop and have a sip of water, because there's only 2 of them and there's a lot of us to look after. So could you just take a few seconds out just to take care of yourself and have a drink of water or something else, just so that we don't have anybody else hitting the deck. Thank you. So you tell me. And then we'll so then once you've had a chance to do that, then we'll come back to the service. So what I'd like to do now, we have a time-honoured tradition of our own. We have some community link students which happen through the state schools, and we'd really love it if they learn about the fallen in Yandina, and they each have different sort of soldiers or sailors or airmen that then they learn the history of. And I'd now like to invite those community link students to come and lay rosemary, please. I consider I've just done whatever I felt like all day. So it's a wonderful tribute to see the children laying rosemary and taking heart in those who've come before us here in Yandina. And this town and this area has such a rich history, and a lot of particularly the guys sort of back in those earlier days were very quick to jump in and volunteer. So it's lovely to keep that memory and that history alive. Thank you. And the names of the fallen are actually on the Yandina-Eumundi RSL website, and they are on the program, although we did have some technical challenges uploading that. And so for anybody that does have that program, or anybody who wants to know the names of the fallen, we have done a live stream here today, and the names of those names are actually on there as well, simply from a time perspective. And with today that we haven't read the names of all of those people. And if the North Arm children can now lay their rosemary, please. Do you have kids that need to lay it as well, please? Sorry for interrupting. Louise, do you have any scouts that need to lay rosemary as well? Just because I need to dismount the catapult party? Okay, thank you. So, right. So thank you very much, everybody. That concludes our service for today, and it really is great to see so many of you out here. And for anybody else who is interested, we do have like a few limited spaces still at the RSL sub-branch for lunch today. And so for any veterans wearing their own medals, then that lunch is complimentary. So we are slightly limited as to how many numbers because of the COVID situation that we can do that. So for everybody that has contributed in any way today, I sincerely thank you. Like, we are such a small RSL sub-branch, and even putting on events like this is such a huge thing for us. And so we would welcome anybody who is interested in connecting with us just to help support this local community. And you don't need to be a veteran, you just need to have an interest in this environment and keeping this alive. So thank you again for being here. And I do need to dismount the catapult party now, because these guys have done several services all over the Sunshine Coast this morning, and we need to be mindful and respectful of them. And then once we do that, there's just a couple of organisations I want to thank for helping us here today. Right, thank you. And then dismount catapult party, please. So this is our conclusion and our thank you, and we'd like to say thanks, our sincere thanks to the following people for supporting our service. So Anthony Moorehouse for being a guest speaker, Reverend Tardy for our prayers, the Doo Wop Dolls for their beautiful vocals, the Sunshine Coast Caledonian pipes and drums for their great music and that lovely lament that we heard today. 128 cadet unit who were always lovely and supportive of the service, and it makes such a difference to have that presence here. So to our own volunteers and to the men's shed and the students and teachers at Yandina State School, North Arms State School, and a huge thanks to the Scouts group for all they did to support us here today. So we also had some support from Sunshine Coast Council, and Queensland Police have been amazing, because we even to get all of this done in the time period that we had with, yes, it's okay, you can have an Anzac Day and nothing's different, could not really have been further from the truth. So it's been a lot more work than we had anticipated. And so for everybody who has helped and supported us to make that happen today, and of course to our wonderful first aiders, Wayne and Joyce as well. So thank you very much, everybody. And so there are a couple of people around who are supporting us too. If anybody likes playing Two Up, the Yandina Hotel support as well with donations after Two Up, so that as soon as the service is finished, they'll be opening that up. Also, the Torella Brewery at North Arm will also be running an event which will support us this afternoon. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, really appreciate it. Goodbye. Now we'll have that voted. Yes. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, because I don't think it worked.
You did a great job.
Thank you. I was all over the place. Hey, Graham. I ran out. I had a 40-minute deadline because the catapult party could only stand for 40 minutes.
Yeah? I know you did a great job. I think it was all excellent.
Thank you. Thank you. Somewhere. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much. And so you're joining us for lunch, aren't you? Yes, all right. So they are expecting you. Yeah. And so, and you're still driving too, Graham. You're still driving. You're still getting around.
I'll be 96 this year.
How beautiful is that?
Amazing, isn't it?
That is like that is so good.
So you've got all these wonderful people out today.
We see, yeah, so we haven't seen Graham, even though Graham lives nearby. Graham's always been, because he was the president of the RAF Association, so he spent a lot more time in Nambour. But our patron, Dusty Miller, who was so dear to our hearts, Graham was a great mate of Dusty's, so it's like wonderful to see.
Oh, yes, Dusty. Yeah. He joined the RAF Association in the end.
Yeah, he's a bit stubborn with something, wasn't he? So.
Yeah, he was amazing, because he was a rear air gunner in a Lancaster, and he did 30 flights over